From Creepy Threads. By the way, if you're arguing against feeding kids McDonald's because it's unhealthy or contributes to childhood obesity, you're getting it wrong. Who gives a fudge if kids are fat? If parents don't feed their kids fast food and just let them starve instead because the kid might get fat, then that parent is just as terrible as the imaginary parents that libertarians invent who would rather sit around on their butts all day and do nothing than feed their kids anything at all. Ensign Alexandria replied, how this post came to be, a dramatic retelling. Mom, can we stop and get McDonald's? We have food at home. I'd rather starve. Kid returns home and writes this post. Glitter Pants 8 added, my kids every darn day. From Elmire 2000. Dieting is an infringement on your body autonomy. Creating rules around food is a violation of your body autonomy. Not being able to eat when you are hungry is a violation of your body autonomy. Counting calories and placing a limit on how many you let yourself eat is a violation of your body autonomy. You can take back your freedom. You can reclaim the rights to your body. It won't be easy. It will take protests. It will take practice, but it can be done. Taritha replied, my body isn't separate from my brain, and my brain makes the rules. Even eat whatever whenever is a rule my brain would be making. I can't violate my own bodily autonomy. That's asinine. Eka added, my brain would kill me. Eat kiwi fruit. No, I'm allergic to kiwi fruit. But you like kiwi fruit. Yes, but my throat will close up. To which Taritha replied, like dogs and chocolate. The desire to eat the thing is almost never rooted in whether you should eat the thing. From Vixian. Stop eating like a toddler. You're an adult with higher energy needs. Depending on their age, size, and activity levels, toddlers need about 1,000 to 1,400 calories per day. That's it. You've read those numbers right. Toddlers, very small humans who need more than 1,000 calories a day to function and grow. Now ask yourself, if toddlers need to eat this how much do we need as adults? As adults with busy jobs and exercise goals. I can assure you that whatever your goal is, whether that be fat loss or maintenance, you do not need to be eating this little. Food is fuel, and eating in too low a deficit can have serious repercussions, including losing muscle mass. Forest Lady replied, I love how people play the toddlers and kids need X amount of calories. I always forget or leave off the fact that toddlers are growing at a ridiculous rate, and so need an excess of what is required to maintain a small body. Frotzy added, this infant needs X calories per day. Yep, and if you scale it up for your diet, you'll be doubling in size every week too. From Shieke. Something no one says. Out of gas? Keep driving. Your car will be just fine and will definitely keep working well for you. Something many people say. Hungry? Keep going without food. Your body will be just fine and will definitely keep working well for you. Carson replied, something no one says. Gas tank full? Keep pumping more gas into it. Your car will be extra nourished and will definitely keep working well for you. Chagriz added, excuse me, I like to fill up my car intuitively. To which Marcus Young replied, exactly this. Using the gas gauge is both ableist and fuel phobic. Your car knows when it wants gas. DB Koopa also replied, and when the gas tank is full, start filling up your spare gas cans with gas. Then buy more gas cans and fill those up too. Then pile all those full gas cans in the trunk and back seat of your car. All that extra weight won't be over the limit for what your tires and suspension are meant to take. It won't cause any damage at all. It won't make it more likely to turn a minor accident into a deadly fireball. From List J. Diets don't work only because people don't keep the healthy lifestyle after finishing a diet is another phrase for, if you just starved and overexercised your entire life, then you could fool your genetics into looking like me. And that means that it's your fault that you don't conform to my standards for your body. The fact that they think that that's what it takes to lose or maintain weight just shows they don't know what the F they're talking about. Maria Fit replied, so essentially, the fact that people who have lost and maintained their weight think they know what it takes to lose or maintain weight just shows they don't know what the F they're talking about. Yep, makes total sense. Also, I love how there's no middle ground. It's simply starve and overexercise in comparison to their constant overeating and never exercising. From Moore Talk. So at 5'6", my ideal weight is at 130 pounds according to the BMI chart. When I was 18, a nurse looked at me and said, no, more like 180. The reason was not muscle, but a stocky build, what big boned actually means. If I were just a skeleton put next to another woman at 5'6", it would be wider. No, I'm not saying I'm not fat. I am totally. Last I checked, I was pushing 300. Oy vey. But at 130, I would be positively skeletal. But at 180, BMI would consider me overweight. So there's a lot more that BMI just doesn't take into account. Kangaroo replied, an average American male weighs 200 pounds, with a skeletal weight of 27.5 pounds, 12 kilograms. The average female skeleton is 23 pounds, or 10 kilograms. This woman says that she has an extra 50 pounds of bones. Her skeleton weighs triple of what an average skeleton weighs. I'm honestly trying and failing to imagine what that looks like. Ladybug Parade added, Wolverine. From Hey Blunderhead, I want to weigh less to reduce some of the impact on my arthritic knees and hip. But there are ways to strengthen your knees and hip beside weight loss, and weight loss is permanent. Weight loss can never be the goal. You're doing what you need to do. But intentionally losing weight is a dangerous option, and it doesn't work on a long-term basis. It has a 95 to 98% failure rate. Exercising is fine as long as it isn't to change the shape of your body or to lose weight. Kangaroo replied to herself, you're 3 times more likely to develop arthritis of the knee if you're obese. Not 3%, not 30%, 3 times, or 300%. Is that not a dangerous option? And it's not just because of a literal physical impact of the extra weight on the knees, but also the constant low-grade inflammatory state that is associated with obesity. Being 10 pounds overweight puts an extra 15 to 50 pounds of pressure on your knees. Imagine someone who's already developed arthritis and is 100 pounds overweight. What those extra 500 pounds of pressure on the knees must feel like. Aye. From Religious Ecstasy. Our bodies are like thermostats. Our weight is the temperature set by our genetics. Loverin Bell replied, if my thermostat in my house is turned up to 110 instead of 70, I'm going to get off my butt and change it. Same thing with my weight. Using a thermostat as an analogy is a very weird choice considering you just click a button to adjust them. From Warhol's Not Dead. New approach to self-care. Talk to myself the same way I talk to my dogs. Hey, sweet girl, look at that beautiful belly. You're so clever. Want a treat? Woolly replied, okay, but then you only get 2 scoops of food a day, a lot of walking, and then back into your crate. Roadless Soul added, and you get yelled at when you get on the couch, too. From Kyber. Isn't it actually too little? Can't imagine not eating anything for over 3 hours without starving. Yes, 3 meals and 2 snacks is the minimum. Shark Baby replied, starving apparently now means feeling a bit peckish. From Small Citron. A lie. Can only have 1 tablespoon of peanut butter at a time. Any more is too many calories. Truth. Measuring spoons don't know your life. Slather on what you want. Shark Baby replied, don't measure your food, eat what you like, and then use it as proof that diets don't work. These are the people that think intuitive eating will work for them. Kalandra added, the problem is really what FAs think intuitive eating is. Reality, intuitive eating means eating when hungry, stopping when satiated. But the FA intuitive eating, eat whatever you crave and however much you want. Moore Talk added, intuitive eating only works for people who already have a normal, healthy relationship with food. By definition, it will not work for the vast majority of fat people. It may work after a period of calorie counting, when they've forced their body to adapt. From Kiki Pinpen. I'm trying to be healthy as mainstream talk means I'm trying to cut calories, which in fact is actually not healthy, since you're depriving yourself of necessary nutrients and creating an obsession with food. My name is Radish replied, how hard can it be to understand that calories don't equate to nutritional value? You can get a poop load of calories, but very little nutrition from something like fast food. Not to mention you'll be hungry in 30 minutes stat. But on the other hand, a large salad or a homemade soup can give you so much better nutrition for a much larger portion size and probably less than half the calories. From Vicky. 2 young women taking a picture of themselves. One writes, "Some days I feel tan. Other days I pose next to my friend." Really? Oh, lol. What? It's just a little much, that's all. What's that supposed to mean? I mean that we get it. You're skinny. Don't have to post pictures reminding chubby girls that they're chubby. What the fudge? Are you serious? If you're that offended by it, first unfollow me and second get some help. This is the most ridiculous poop I've ever heard. We haven't talked since January and this is what you text me? Wow. Okay, blank. Thin privilege in a nutshell. I'm not offended by it, but it makes me feel like poop. You're basically saying, look at me and how well I meet the beauty standards. Like, that isn't helping anyone. Just beware of the privilege, that's all. I'm not trying to fight. The body is not an apology.com. Black Mesa East replied, Psh, the link, the body is not an apology. She needs to reread that. Thin women don't need to hide or apologize for their bodies. Season Dreams. Yeah, I was gonna say, pretty sure that book isn't about body shaming women. Pretty sure it's the opposite. Get Fit Kit also added, I'm not offended, I just feel like your thin body is hurling insults at me, that's all. From Dorkita. Can everyone also talk about how they began to honor nutrition? And for anyone predisposed to, say, diabetes, for example, how do you honor satisfaction without fear, guilt, and health concerns? You cannot eat your way into or out of diseases. Diabetes is not the punishment for eating what you want. It's an autoimmune disorder and should be treated with compassion like any other non-stigmatized condition. There is one sane and pretty funny reply. If you can't make your own insulin, store-bought is fine. This is true. I'm pre-diabetic and working with a healthy at every size dietitian and therapist, which is helping a lot. It's hard not to shame myself when I'm eating certain foods because I feel like I'm not making my health a priority. They are reassuring me that it's not my fault. I have a genetic predisposition, and I also have proved to myself over and over again that diets don't work. My yo-yo dieting has caused much more suffering, and I'm choosing not to live that way anymore. Kiki Pinpin replied, On the BBC series, Who Are You Calling Fat? There was a man who had effectively reversed his type 2 diabetes by losing weight and taking up exercise. And the main fat activist on the show basically just sneered at him for it, and basically just refused to accept that what he'd done was possible. It was like she genuinely would have preferred a 24-year-old man to have a serious health condition rather than go running. Her view was that if you are fat and you exercise, you were just looking for society's approval rather than, just enjoying exercise. From Benjo. Just wanted to say I'm a clinical psychology doctoral student with a focus on eating disorders and weight stigma, and the anti-diet movement is slowly but surely becoming more mainstream in our literature. The literature views restrained eating as a negative behavior and a risk for eating disorders, weight gain, etc. And if you look at the concept of restrained eating, it's literally just describing someone on a diet. You won't find much new psychological literature suggesting restrained eating behaviors, which is great. Hopefully soon we'll be full on anti-diet, and I could tell you all the research I produce over the next 5 years will be contributing to that theory. There is hope for us still. A bunch of numbers replied. That's not how science research works. If only they cared how science works. From Dream Farewell. People who are like, I like curvy girls, okay? And what about fat women who don't fit in the curvy beauty standard? What about women who weigh 600 pounds? Women whose stomachs reach farther than their breasts? Liking curvy girls is a good step forward, but that's a long way off from loving and appreciating all body types. But I prefer Lodi replied. Nothing sexier than someone trying to guilt trip you into finding them sexy. From Calamonding Garden. I'm going to say this again. Preferences can be problematic. The fact that you prefer skinny women over fat women is rooted in fat phobia. If you think light-skinned women are more desirable to dark-skinned women, that's rooted in colorism, which is rooted in racism. Please apply your mind and think where you got your preference. It's not enough to say that's what you prefer. Investigate further to see if it's not influenced by problematic concepts. Oh, and I'm not going back and forth with anyone. These are facts, take it or leave it. Abeg. Who's this Abeg guy she's so mad at? Kiki Pinpin replied, I don't find morbidly obese people sexually attractive. That's my preference. Which presumably in this person's eyes means that I just hate all fat people because I've been conditioned to by society. The next part's going to sound weird because I'm a man reading it, but let's go ahead for it. But I also don't find women sexually attractive. I'm a woman who is only sexually attracted to men. So in this person's eyes, does that make me a misogynist who's been conditioned by society to hate women? Are we going to tell gay men that if they don't find women attractive, they just need to examine their prejudices? If an 18-year-old girl is repulsed by the advances of a man old enough to be her grandfather, are we going to call her out for ageism? And let me add, do you really want to be with somebody who doesn't find you attractive? From Lilac Hiriath. Thin privilege is considering the isolation, rejection, and humiliation of fat people to be first world problems. Cassis Oolong replied, coming from an actual third world country, yeah, I do see most of what FAs complain about as first world problems. From Fudgin' Hate Green Beans. What if the weight loss was for a genuine health reason? I'm now on metformin trying to lose weight, not because I hate my fat body, I don't, but because I have PCOS and I'm not ovulating at my current weight. I want a baby. All the research shows that 95% of people will gain the weight back after 12 to 24 months. Weight cycling is dangerous to health. Dieting is futile. I've just lost over a stone in 6 months, which is slow, sustainable weight loss, and again, it's only so I can conceive. My body is worthy and beautiful as is. It just can't give me a baby. Untag me if you're going to talk about weight loss. I don't want to hear about it. I didn't even know you were tagged. Okay, even if it's not deliberate, it's still something you should say sorry for and ensure you won't do it again. Killer Tapir replied, all the research equals one study, which pretty much states people regain because they don't stick to dieting, and considers the possibility that there are benefits to short-term weight loss that persist after regain, and argues that increasing exercise might be more sustainable for weight loss in the long run. It's really not the silver bullet they think it is. And studies are not the end of the conversation. There's a reason they almost always have a discussion section near the end, because there's things to discuss and ideas for further research, and stop being bad at everything. From Northern Noedi, a Forbes article, you must not do your own research when it comes to science. How do we respond to an article like this? I know this article is aimed at the disease that must not be named deniers and other science deniers, but I am an HAES activist. I'm not a scientist, but I've learned how to read scientific studies and how to look for double-blind studies from reputable peer-reviewed journals. But the majority of doctors still seem to recommend weight loss. Does that make me a conspiracist? I know there are plenty of studies to support our point of view, but when the majority of doctors still sit on the wrong side of science, how can we claim to know better without sounding like crazies? Wasted Weeb replied, the only studies I've seen these people cite are always taken wildly out of context and usually used to make claims that are not supported by the results of the studies. By I learned to look for peer-reviewed studies, I guarantee you she means I learned to look for studies containing one statistic that I can take out of context while ignoring the rest of the study and all the research that contradicts my beliefs. Randy Savage Pie added, study. After returning to the habits that made them fat in the first place, most people who went on diets regained all the weight they lost. Science says weight loss is impossible. Wasted Weeb replied, if I remember correctly, that was the conclusion of the one study where they get the 95% of diets fail statistic from. From Marlowe's. Well, in the animal kingdom, whoever eats the most and gets fat is the more dominant one and better able to survive. It's only humans who demonize being fat and are self-conscious about it. We should learn from animals. Being fat is considered a privilege. It means we can afford to eat loads and have access to plenty of food. Being skinny is considered weak because it means you do not have access to food. This mentality that fat is inferior and skinny is superior is seriously flawed human logic. I'm talking about in general now. Sorozek replied, oh hun, there's nothing dominant about being weaker and slower, feeling dizzy and out of breath just from walking upstairs. Animals that overeat become obese and get sick, just like humans do. From B. Hood. Who cares about being chubby? All these guys think shredded six-packs will get them where they want. And then they have the personality of a brick wall. Okay. Six-packs are for mofies and posers. It's the old saying, six-packs are made in the kitchen, not the gym. They're absolutely not indicative of one's fitness and strength. There is no reason for anybody to maintain such a low body fat percentage unless you're an athlete, have body image issues, and/or eating disorders. Obsessing about it, in a way, is quite telling about one's personality. Gratry replied, "Allow me to translate. These grapes are very sour, and I never wanted them, and anyone who wants them is a jerk anyway." From Cassis Oolong. So I actually have a company that sells outdoor and athleisure apparel, and we received a lot of requests for realistic models. Mind you, we don't use super fit women to promote anything anymore since it's, well, out of fashion. So we took them at their word and used some realistic models besides our current realistic models, women with normal slim bodies. We hired a professional photographer that specializes in outdoor apparel photography, and hired some larger ladies that love being in front of a camera. So far, so good. It performed awfully. The conversion rate between the picture of large women versus normal-sized women was about 1 to 9. What made it so funny is that we sell a lot of clothes to larger women, which I'm very hyped about. Everyone deserves to feel beautiful. But the target demographic of this project just doesn't respond that well to target demographic pictures. Celte Beatles replied, "Duh! The fat people who requested for fatter models were FAs who had no interest in actually buying clothing for outdoor or athletic activity. The fat people who actually bought a lot of clothes did so because they want to eventually look like the slim models, not their current selves."